Hi, welcome back to Weatherford Daze. I am Rachel. This is Jason, and we are back.
Oh yeah.
Cutting this part out. Okay. We do things here that are very dumb sometimes, and sometimes they're smart, and we ramble a lot, and then we cut out all the rambling and we make it sound good.
Yes. This is about really good beginnings and really bad beginnings, and we're showing both of them all at once.
This is the bad beginning. This is the good beginning.
I thought this was the good beginning.
Was it?
Oh,
no,
no.
This is the bad beginning.
Okay.
So I had the topic today. No, I had the idea for the topic today because I was sitting there thinking, what do I like about books beyond the obvious?
Beyond a lot.
So I was thinking last week when we were talking about what are the elements that go into a world building, what makes a good world building experience versus a bad one. And when I was thinking, I also, was just going, one of the things I love the most is when I pick up a book and just from the very first line get hooked in. So, my brain, as it does with coming up with topics for this channel, I start thinking of just, sometimes the most simple questions. It was, what is it about those lines, those first lines, that makes them intriguing or just kind of makes them, so. I thought, well, hey, why don't we dive into that a little bit? Even if we don't answer the question of what is it that makes a good first line of a book, we can at least enjoy the journey of talking about it and appreciate it. So don't you think that's a good thing sometimes, right?
I do. I was thinking of two things that have the same term, but in music or in a song, you have the first little part of it, the hook. They always call it the hook. It's the thing that pulls you into the song, and it could be that the tune is really catchy, and then the words start forming in. And the same thing could be said of a book. The first paragraph, the first sentence, the first lines, that's the hook. And I've seen people online that give information on how to do it. They call it the hook.
And the thing is it's not necessarily true that all of the best books have really good hooks. But a lot of times they do. Some of my very favorite books, everybody knows just from the very first line what the book is because the line is just so iconic. And it just, from that very first line, somebody can just quote it and you get a chill because you're just like, oh, it makes you remember and relive the entire story. And it's like, it's almost like, with smells when you're cooking.
Yes.
It's like you
aroma and
smell,
memory connection. Yeah.
You smell that turkey cooking and you start reliving all of the Thanksgivings. You smell bread baking in it. Like for me, it's like that's a flashback to childhood when my mom would always bake bread. And there's just those smells that like take you back. And I think
Sweet
that
potato
first
casserole.
lines of books are like that. Just they reel you in. They can give you this just chill, and it just oof, they're so good. Like it's a truth universally acknowledged, right?
Yep.
Everybody knows it's Pride and Prejudice.
And what is it about that line? What does that line have to really pull somebody in? And what do the best lines do? I think that, okay, let's break down the Pride and Prejudice one first. It automatically brings in class, economics, the relationship between men and women, and the upper crust kind of speaking.
Snarky, which just sets the tone for the book, right?
I think it takes a moment for you to go, oh.
There's a bit of sarcasm in there, while also being, there's some realism, but the way that it's presented is just kind of like, oh, well, we're going to be going there, are we?
Especially if it's the narrator that's starting it out, you get a chance to get their mindset. And it may be that their viewpoint and worldview is a little askew, and they may actually be a bad, what do you call it, unreliable narrator, but you start to get hints of it, and that's what can draw you into.
Hmm. And I think that there is a bit of subjectiveness to what hooks people in, right? There's
Yeah.
some that just everybody seemed to like, but there's some that, in preparation for this, I was reading through just some articles on, like, 100 best lines and stuff. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, I mean, I like some of these, but some of these I'm going, I I don't think there's anything really that remarkable about this line. And yet other people obviously thought this was a good enough first line to put in this grouping of top.
Well, I've read some of those too, and I know some of them. I knew the story, a thumbnail sketch of the story behind it, and so I went, okay, I see where they're going with it. Or I remember some things, but some of them I'd never heard of, and some I kind of knew a little bit about. I kind of looked at it like, is it asking those questions? Is it making me want to know
Mhm.
who is who is that? Why is that? What happens next? It makes me want to, like if you're passing by and something happens, you go, wait, what's going on over there? That kind of thing. I think that, or else you just pass on by. And I think that's some of those
Mhm.
you were probably going, pass on
So I want to really
by.
quick. This is what wonderful Chat GPT gave me for what the first line of a book does.
Okay.
Just kind of like establish that baseline and then we'll go on.
Mm.
So it said that it grabs attention, it sets the tone, it establishes the voice, creates questions, anchors the story. So I don't know that every first line does all of those things, but it probably does at least one or two of those things, right?
Right.
And that the different types of lines are going to fall into one of these five categories, and which I think it pretty well describes them. I don't know. We'll see if there's any others
Yeah,
you think.
shoot.
It said it's either shocking and unexpected, it's atmospheric or setting the scene, it's character driven, it's either philosophical or thought provoking, or humorous and playful. So I felt like that was a pretty good description of most of the first lines that I've seen.
So could we look at some examples of some really good ones? You had some picked out.
Mhm.
I had some picked out. So I have some examples of some ones that people have said were really good throughout the ages, even more modern ones, and also some ones from maybe like 50, 60, 70, 80
I think
years ago.
maybe it would be fun to read through some and then like give our opinion on whether we think it's a good first line or maybe not so good.
Or just to kind of break them
We're going
down
to
real
geek
quick.
out for a little bit.
Yeah.
Join us.
And this is kind of like us kind of reading poetry to each other, except it's books of prose.
So, I have some physical books. I have some things that I sent you because we're recording on my phone. So, we want to start with the physical books?
Yes.
Okay, that'll be fun. Sword of Shannara, Terry
We've
Brooks.
talked about this previously
Yes.
in the post-apocalyptic.
I pulled a couple of my favorite books.
Mm,
And this one I think would be atmospheric,
okay.
setting the scene. The sun was already sinking into the deep green of the hills to the west of the valley, the red and gray pink of its shadows touching the corners of the land, when Flick Ormsford began his descent. So it is atmospheric, it is setting the scene. It's not really anything that's super memorable, right?
It's not you're not hit with the
Mm.
magic of things. You hit right away with this as a fantasy book because I don't know anybody named Flick Olmsford.
Yeah. And I think that I like when a book just kind of, I like the setting the scenes. I think that it's not one that necessarily, sits in my mind and goes, oh, yeah. If you read that to me, I would probably, because of the name, be able to tell you what book it came from.
Right.
But, setting the scene most of the time, I would say is it's a good first line. It's not a great first line, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to go to the next one. This is Good Omens by Neil Gaiman and Terry Pratchett.
And the book is way better than the series, if that's even possible.
TV series.
TV series, right.
Yeah. Amazon.
Season 1 is season 1 is the book, if you want to think about that. And then
season 2 was an abomination.
There is no season 2. Do you remember? I've said there isn't. I'll say there isn't this movie, that this book doesn't exist. I say that for your own benefit.
You gotta wonder sometimes what they're thinking, but anyway. So the first line is, I think we need a couple of lines here. I think we need the first paragraph for this one.
Sometimes paragraph is the first line to me.
It was a nice day. All the days had been nice. There had been rather more than 7 of them so far, and rain hadn't been invented yet. But clouds massing east of Eden suggested that the first thunderstorm was on its way, and it was going to be a big one.
So first off, if you've read the book, you know some things, but you're hit with, this sounds like Genesis. 7 days, creation, 7 days that only existed. Eden, you hear that, and the thunderstorm's coming. So it's rain has not been invented yet. So to me, it's like there's darkness on the horizon in this lovely paradise of a place. And if you know the book, I think the earth is a paradise and there's a darkness coming.
Does a really excellent job of establishing the voice, of setting the scene and the tone. I really feel like that's quite a good one. Is it one of those that's just super memorable and sticks in your mind? No, most books aren't. But I would say that's a pretty good one.
And the humor, if you're familiar with Douglas Adams, who did Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series,
that was another one I have the first line of.
I have one of them, but this one makes sense.
Okay.
I'll be interested to see which one you had the first line of.
All right. So this one we actually talked about last time, and
it's not the first book of the series, though, is it?
It's not. Do you have the first?
No.
Okay. So this one is Crossroads of Twilight by Robert Jordan. And we talked about this quite a bit in the last episode, this series anyway. This one's not the first book in the series. This is one that I just happen to have on my bookshelf. But all of the books, they do have a prologue. However, what I find, the first line of the first chapter is what kind of repeats in every book.
It's this mantra kind of, like a...
And it actually, that's what makes it really, really memorable. This is one that I remember the first lines of each of these books because it's kind of the same and yet slightly different. This one, it goes, the wheel of time turns and ages come and pass, leaving memories that become legend. Legend fades to myth, and even myth is long forgotten when the age that gave it birth comes again. In one age, called the third age by some, an age yet to come, an age long past, a wind rose in the Rannon hills. The wind was not the beginning. There are neither beginnings nor endings to the turning of the wheel of time, but it was a beginning. And that first paragraph there kind of repeats with slightly, it may not be a wind rose, but it has a lot of the same that carries on from each.
It does create a sense of continuity, and
it's a very poetic way to set the scene and to set the tone and to give this idea, of what the series, The Wheel of Time, is doing. So there's a lot there that is just really important too. I mean, we talked about this one being a good world building series. The very first line of each of the books, very first paragraph rather, is really establishing that world and making you it hooks you in and kind of says, I'm a different story than anything you've ever heard before, which I love. Oh, okay. You go with some of yours.
Okay. I have some from books, both classic and modern, and I have a couple from movies. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. I know that's a class, but Now, wait a
Well,
minute.
that's the way the books
That's
start as well as the
yeah,
movies.
it does. And that's just the opening crawl of the first movie, Star Wars: A New Hope, which they called it later. But the scene doesn't quite start with those words. The scene starts with the thing that really captures your imagination, which is these huge ships. And you've never, I mean, back in 77, they didn't see anything like this before. You know, I mean, when I showed up, they didn't see anything like me ever before,
The
ever
thing
since.
that movies can do that books can't, though, is that theme music. Like, okay, it smacks you in the face right away with Star Wars. So you're getting that.
And the model
You're
work
getting the
was
music. You're
fantastic.
getting the
It was no
scenes,
CGI.
the scrolling of the words.
Yes,
Yeah,
you were in for something.
that's a good one.
You knew you were in for something. This one, you're going to know right away. The world has changed. I feel it in the water. I feel it in the earth.
Okay, you're gonna make me mad now.
I smell it in the air. Much that once
Yeah,
is
okay,
lost.
all right. That's the way the movie started.
I know. I'm sorry.
But the
I
book.
wasn't trying to start a fight. But when that, I'm telling you right now, if I'm walking by
I
and someone's
actually didn't
watching that
like the
movie,
way the movie started.
okay, it's
Okay,
fine.
it's memorable, sure, but I
If
don't like it.
if I walk by in someone's house and that is going, I feel it in the air, and I'm like, I'm sitting down and I'm not getting up until this 3-hour epic is done, and then you better put the next one in, and it's on, and Rachel doesn't like it.
So are you doing all movies?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Call Me Ishmael,
Moby Dick.
Moby Dick,
Mhm.
Herman Melville. This one you may or may not know. I'll tell you what it is. I'm not going to, quiz you. But it has an interesting word in there, and it makes you kind of go, It was a bright, cold day in April, and the clocks were striking 13.
Oh, I know that one.
Do you?
Wait a second. Is that 1984?
Yes.
Okay.
That's great. Yes. So the first thing you're thinking,
the clocks are striking 13.
but your mind is going, there's no 13 on the clocks, which tells you right away we're
Right.
in a different time frame. There's still April, but there's a 13, right? So instantly you're thinking something's askew, and that's true. 1984. It basically, to me, that says everything about the book in a nutshell. Is it's like our world, but something is askew.
It's memorable enough to really just like it strikes you, yeah.
And this is the one that I mentioned I wanted to do because it sounded almost like the motto of a beginning is the time for taking the most delicate care that the balances are correct. That's Dune.
See, but I didn't know that one.
That's okay.
It's not memorable enough.
Well, it's also done slightly different in the movie. In the very beginning of it, it is narrated by Princess Irulan, and she is narrating about in past tense about what is happening.
Now that one, the line that really is memorable is like the fear is the
mind killer. That's more of a quote. I would agree.
But yeah.
I wonder if you know this one. In my younger and more vulnerable years, my father gave me some advice that I've been turning over in my mind ever since.
Mm-mm.
It's The Great Gatsby.
Oh, okay.
So, for me, in reading that again, I started breaking it down, right? In my younger, more vulnerable years. So to me, it's he's older and he's looking back, saying, "In my youth." So we're seeing somebody who has
the scene and the tone and just,
or they have regrets, or they see themselves as a different kind of person.
Establishing voice. Mm-hmm.
And they say, my father gave me some advice, and he's been turning it over his mind. What was it? What's the advice? And he's got, I got you. The hooks are in. Now, I think this one's kind of classic, but it, in a way, this line says to me, you really should read the first book in the series. Even the line is kind of telling you to do that. You don't know about me without you have read a book by the name of The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. Oh. But that ain't no matter. That book was made by Mr. Mark Twain, and he told the truth, mainly. So that says basically anything that
Huck Finn, right?
Huckleberry Finn is telling a story, and he's saying, well, he got some things right, but not everything. You're like, okay, well, what did he get wrong? What, see? And also, he's saying that other book had me in it, but this is about me. It's like the Emperor's New Groove. This is my movie. This is about me. So there's quite a few lovely ones. So oh, okay. And everybody knows the one. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. You know, which
Mm-hmm.
is just there's a whole another paragraph. But that was from Tale of Two Cities. Once there were 4 children whose names were Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy. This story is about something that happened to them when they were sent away from London during the war because of the air raids.
So I really, for such a great book,
Yeah.
it's not really a great hook. It's mediocre. It's okay. I mean, and that's the thing.
Don't you want to know what happened? You know, you're thinking kids, air
I
raids, World War II. No?
I don't feel like it really draws you in. It's nothing really, and I mean, not every book has to have that. The majority of books, the first line is just a first line. I really do like those books that just kind of, it's like, "Ooh, that was a good one," you know? And I mean, not every book that I love is going to have that great first line. That's
Well,
okay.
do you think that this line, knowing what you know about this 7-book series,
There's another book
mm,
in that book series that has a much better first line, and that's Silver Chair.
mm,
I have that one actually. And that is, there was a boy called Eustace Clarence Scrubb, and he almost deserved it. Oh, that one's not Silver Chair. That one's Voyage of the Dawn Treader.
right?
That's the first place that we find Eustace, or that we meet Eustace.
But his name is
There
Scrub,
was
and he
a
deserved it.
boy called Eustace Clarence Scrubb, and he almost deserved it. I mean, is that not so much better? Yes, we've introduced a book by talking about the names of a first character. But and he almost deserved it is so much better than just saying, yeah, there's 4 children and their names are Peter, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy.
Yeah, that is more evocative, and also knowing what you
Yeah.
know about Eustace, don't don't we all almost
But that's
deserve
the
it?
hook. It pulls you in where you're like, what does it mean he almost deserved it?
The name
So I mean, yeah, okay, yeah.
as a
That's a pretty
curse.
bad name. Yeah. It makes you think. It pulls you in. I like those that are a little bit more.
I don't think Eustace Clarence is a really bad name, but okay, I'm weird.
So yeah, I've got a couple that are from children's books. All children except one grow up.
Peter Pan.
Hmm. And
Yes,
I feel like, I mean, that one, if it doesn't just like, here's my story, what it's about,
that is
and
a
pulls you in,
really good line.
it's a great line.
Yeah,
And then, of course, we've mentioned this one because it's just this, it's good. Mr. and Mrs. Dursley of number 4 Privet Drive were proud to say that they were perfectly normal. Thank you very much.
that was the one I was when I was talking about the 7-book series, and I
Is
was
that's the one
well,
you were going to?
yeah, I wanted to know. I wanted to know what you thought of that line because it has that kind of a classic, almost that playfulness that
Hmm.
Lewis would have, or maybe the
I
early
think
Hobbit.
I think the first chapter of that book is masterfully done.
The
It
first chapter, but is the line
the
like
line is, I think it's amazing. It's, again, it's one of those that the minute you hear it, it just takes you back. It's like that kind of shiver down your spine. You know exactly what you're in for. And that's, knowing what it is because it's so memorable. But even when the very first time, I remember the very first time I read that line, just going, "Ooh," like it strikes you. It's unique. And I like those that are just, they're just different. I mean, the ones that kind of set the scene and, kind of give you the, it was a dark and stormy night, or just kind of describe the landscape or whatever. He's going down the hill, he's going up the hill, he was walking down the road. Those are fine, but there's just something about Mr. and Mrs. Dursley of number 4 Privet Drive were proud to say that they were perfectly normal. Thank
thank you
you
very
very
much.
much. There's just something about that.
Yes. Now, I like this one. As Gregor Samsa awoke one morning from uneasy dreams, he found himself transformed in his bed into a gigantic insect. That's from Metamorphosis by Franz
Yeah,
Kafka.
that's great.
Yes, yes, it's a very, very good one. Now, if you know anything about this other story, it's gonna get it's gonna get wild, and you're not gonna be able to trust your own eyes. We were somewhere around Barstow on the edge of the desert when the drugs began to take hold.
Yeah.
Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas by Hunter S. Thompson. And I'm sorry, I cannot see anybody but, oh goodness, who was the pirate?
I don't know, you say pirate, and all I can think
Caribbean.
of, we are the
No, who's
pirates who don't.
Jack Sparrow?
I know.
Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp plays the main
The
character,
Pirates of
and
the
he talks like
yes, I
this all the
know,
time.
but
Yeah, it's crazy.
why does my brain go to that?
I know this author, but I don't know this
What a
book.
VeggieTales.
Ian Banks is on my list because all the time I get it said, you got to read Ian Banks. It was the day my grandmother exploded. And that's The
Yeah.
Crow Road by Ian Banks. So when you said Douglas Adams, what book did you choose as your quote? Was it the one is it Restaurant at the End of the Universe?
Oh, no, I was just going to,
The first one
the
about,
first one.
was that the one about space that we quoted in the space episode that we've done?
Why can't I think of the title now?
Hitchhiker's Guide to
Hitchhiker's Guide to the, yeah,
Galaxy. Yeah.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Was it the first one about space? But it's just peanuts to space. Or he said he think it's a long way to go down to the corner market, but that's just peanuts to space. Was that the
I
first?
have it. Let me.
Okay,
Did you already do yours?
I got the no, I didn't. I got the Restaurant at the End of the Universe. That one's a great one.
Okay, so let's compare the two because
Okay,
I think that will
you
be
read it.
fun.
You read it.
So, from the Restaurant at the End of the Universe, the story so far: in the beginning, the universe was created. This has made a lot of people very angry and been widely regarded as a bad move. Classic.
That's fantastic. And Douglas Adams, God rest his soul, is a great starter.
The first line to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is far out in the uncharted backwaters of the unfashionable end of the western spiral arm of the galaxy lies a small, unregarded yellow sun.
Yes. And very soon come the Vogons. Yes.
I mean, I
Hyperspace.
think both are really good.
Yes.
I think one is slightly more humorous than the other.
The first one's more mysterious. The second
The
one is very
first one,
judgy. It's saying,
right.
it shouldn't have been
But
done.
I
Yeah.
think that both of them kind of are setting you up to realize this is not something like I've read before. This is different. And I think that first lines, especially when they're to a really unique book like Hiker's Guide to the Galaxy,
Yes.
like I love when the first line is just kind of, oh, this is going to be different. All right. Very from the very beginning.
And you did get the author's, I would say you did get the author's voice. Just in the first line. If you don't know Douglas Adams' voice by the first paragraph, you don't know Douglas Adams. But it's not that oh, it starts out kind of mundane and normal and then he's going to go boom humor. It's funny from the first line. If you don't crack a smile while reading some of his stuff, I don't know what. This Now, of course, supposedly if you read this one, if you were caught with this book, they were like, you shouldn't do. This was like banned in a lot of high schools. It's The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. He starts out and he says, if you really want to hear about it, the first thing you'll probably want to know is where I was born and what my lousy childhood was like, and how my parents were occupied and all before they had me, and all that David Copperfield kind of crap. But I don't feel like going into it if you want to know the truth. So it sounds like a narrator's like, I know you want to know about my background and blah, 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 but I don't want to do, so you get the snarky kind of character.
And I would go immediately from hearing that first line, I don't really want to read this book.
Right. Yeah,
so, yeah.
That's probably it. Yeah, that's probably it.
I also appreciate when first lines of books let me know I'm not interested. That's a good thing.
Now, this this line. I think the rest of mine were great, but I'll end it with this one. Ships at a distance have every man's wish on board. For some they come in with the tide. For others they sail forever on the horizon, never out of sight, never landing until the watcher turns his eyes away in resignation, his dreams mocked to death by time. That is the life of men. Now women forget all those things they don't want to remember, and remember everything they don't want to forget. The dream is the truth. Then they act and do things accordingly. That's Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. I thought that's it's such poetic and evocative, and you're like, okay, where that you're just caught by the beauty of it, and then of course she's going to weave in what this means.
Do I get to do more of mine?
Yeah, you know what?
Okay. I've already done some, so I don't think I'm going to have too many more to have to do. Oh, this is one that kind of jumped out at me.
Okay.
And it's from a book that I haven't ever read, but it made me kind of want to know more about it. So I thought that was kind of cool. You probably know the book. We started dying before the snow, and like the snow, we continued to fall. That's from Tracks, which I've never heard of. But yeah, like
I've
that one
never
I
heard that.
went,
Yeah.
"Ooh."
So
I actually just from the first line, I wanna read that now, or at least I wanna
there's
know
some
more
metaphors and
about
some
it.
similes there.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds interesting. Let's see. This is one I've heard of, but I have not read,
Hmm.
but it was interesting. In the beginning, sometimes I left messages in the street. It was like, oh, okay. Is that a good first line? This is included in a list of some of the best first lines.
What is that? What is that?
But it's David Markson Wittgenstein's Mistress.
Hmm.
In the beginning, sometimes I left messages in the street. It kind of it sounds interesting, doesn't it? It makes you go, what is going on? I want a little bit more of that quote to see whether that's actually, yeah, whether it's
And
actually good.
one thing about it is, though, you might be able to hook somebody with the first line or first paragraph, but woe betide you, authors, if you have a spicy scene 5 pages in, because Rachel will close it metaphorically and did not finish.
Okay, thank you.
You're doomed.
Yeah, you never know.
Could be good, but I'm like, I've been fooled before.
Okay. The human race, to which so many of my readers belong, has been playing at children's games from the beginning, and will probably do it till the end, which is a nuisance for the few people who grow up.
Is that well known?
G.K. Chesterton, The Napoleon of Notting Hill. That's a good one, yeah?
What is that? Wait, is that like a standalone, or is that part of his Father Brown series? Not sure.
I don't know.
I will find out.
Yeah? Do you know this one?
Hmm.
It was a wrong number that started it, the telephone ringing 3 times in the dead of night, and the voice on the other end asking for someone he was not. City of Glass.
That was in my list, but I don't think I put it in
Hmm.
there. But
I mean, apparently,
Chuck
Paul
Auster,
Auster.
Paul Auster.
Hmm. I think it's really interesting the ones that people put in the list of best lines. I mean, I know the ones that kind of stick in my head,
Right.
and they're, from the books that I really love. Oh, I meant to look up, but I didn't. The first line of Anne of Green Gables is another one that really, I'm gonna look that up real quick. I think this is one of those that, yeah, it sticks in my head, but whether it's actually a good first line or not, I don't know.
Do you
But
think
it's
that
because I love I
yeah,
love it so much.
you love the
It's
book so much,
yeah.
so the first line just makes you go, ooh, but
Mrs. Rachel Lynde lived just where the Avonlea main road dipped down into a little hollow, fringed with alders and ladies' eardrops, and traversed by a brook that had its source away back in the woods of the old Cuthbert place.
that's very atmospheric and evocative. That's a scene.
Yeah.
But also, as a modern person, I've
But
never
it's
heard of
not women.
flowers called those things, and so I'm like, oh, I wonder what
Yeah.
those look like.
You're painting just the imagery of this, and it's something that Anne of Green Gables does extraordinarily well, is really giving you the beauty of this place and the descriptions of the landscaping and stuff. But is it one that would stick in most people's heads? Probably not. So I think that aspect of, there are some lines that they pull you in and they're so unique and they're so different. And then there's some that just feel like a warm hug that kind of wrap around you and just, yeah. So, what makes a good first line of a book? I think there's several different ways that it can go, huh?
Yeah. And sometimes isn't your, you would show that line to somebody else, they're like, no, okay. But the thing is, you read the whole book, so you know how good it is.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes if somebody, and people took a chance on this book and reading, obviously, because it's a classic, but people kind of sink into it and go. I think there is okay. I saw a title of a video in looking up about these things. I didn't watch any really. I've seen some in the past. Abby Emmons does a really good video, but there's tons of these though. So she said, one of them, it said, don't overemphasize the beginning paragraph, because a lot of times, if you, as a writer, if you sit down to start writing that, you're like, I've got to hook them in the first, and it's kind of like, what do I do for my first scene of this movie or this book? And the thing is, it's going to come to you. It's going to hit you later. You just begin. What what was it they said in Alice in Wonderland? Begin begin at the beginning and then go all the way till you reach the end and then stop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's not a really good great quote, but I like it. Yeah, I mean, it's obvious. You begin at the beginning, you keep going until you get to the end, and then you stop. So that's how you write a book. But when you overemphasize the beginning, you get and you have these lists that we're reading to you that are saying that the best beginnings ever, and they have the best hooks,
You know what
and
another really good one
it's
is?
intimidating. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, another good one. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning. Like just the way that the book of John, that
That's
is
me dropping a
one.
mic right there. That's that
I think of all of the biblical books,
of all the gospels, even, yeah.
of all of the biblical books, that is my favorite first line of any of the books.
I
And
mean,
it
Genesis.
it
Genesis is
it well, it
not too
goes back.
shabby.
It goes back to Genesis.
Right, it does.
But it takes Genesis
It connects it with
and it
Christ,
connects it, and then yeah, it connects it with Christ, and it's just like that is the most
firstborn above all
beautiful,
creation. Yes,
intriguing, poetic, just cool things that I have ever read. That's yeah, that one is like
it
high up there.
it's so good that theologically, it's caused people to think that John is overblowing and he's over estimating the nature of a perfectly good human being teacher. And no, he's connecting he's connecting. You can't deny that John believed that Christ was divine and was the Son of God. You can't you can't deny that from those opening
Mm.
paragraphs. He's saying, the other gospel authors, they can start
But he had a way
with,
with words.
oh yeah.
And that's the thing. Sometimes a book can be good and be solid and be so worth reading, but the first line really doesn't do much to draw people in and hook them from the very beginning. And then you've got ones that just do. And I love that. Just that's all I have to say. Not really any other thoughts on that. Just I love it. First lines are so good when they're the ones that just go ooh.
Mufasa.
Oh no.
Oh no.
So what I was thinking about
Yeah.
and just taking and giving a little bit of application to this. Like, first lines in books and stories and movies can be something that, like we've said this entire time, they can be really, really interesting and they can hook you in, they can make you want to go more, and they can be memorable. And those are really cool. And then there can be some books that are just fantastic books that maybe they don't have the most memorable of beginnings. Maybe it takes a little while for them to warm up, and yet there's still so much good in those. And I was kind of thinking, you know, isn't it great in our lives when we have a beginning that is flashy and it's interesting and it's unique, and everybody wants to see, oh, that person's life is has something, it's like the starting point that, maybe it's the first time that somebody gets noticed or put on, it's like, what are those beginnings in our lives? The beginnings of a story. Maybe they're flashy, maybe they're interesting, maybe they hook people in, and there's something that everybody goes, "Oh, we wanna watch this person because they've hooked me with the start of their story." But then there's others that, maybe they're not as flashy, maybe they're not as unique, maybe they're not as interesting or hook people as much. Doesn't mean that the story that they're writing and this, or that the journey that they're going on, is not worthwhile and doesn't need to be read, you know?
Well, how did Jesus start out? Probably pretty humble, even though he's the Son of God. He's the King of Kings, but the story started very humbly.
But you wouldn't necessarily want to start when things actually start getting flashy with Jesus. You need to have that beginning. You need to have that humble start. And I think that that is kind of the thought that, as I was going and thinking about all of these stories and what I really enjoy about those first lines, it made me go, there's value in all of it. And sometimes some things that I appreciate, other people may not find that interesting. And some things that they really like, I may go, okay. But every story has value. And even more so when you're talking about the story of people's lives.
Right.
You may look at your life and go, my story is really not that interesting. I feel like the start of it's not really something that other people are going to want to know or be interested in. I'm not even really interested in my own life. Maybe I'm bored by what's going on. But there's value in every story. Everyone is unique and interesting. You got to switch your perspective sometimes. You got to see the value in it. And I think that, above all, was what I got out of delving into first lines of stories, was that just like every book has its value to someone, every person and your story has value and unique beauty.
And even if you didn't begin in the best of ways, if it was the worst of times and not the best of times, just know that the author can redeem your character and redeem the story. And ultimately, the one who is connected to your story most is Christ, is God. And they're invested in you, just like you're invested in them. And the story, if you walk in his ways, is going to finish really well.
And I don't think we could put a better end on that. Is that where I knew we were going? No.
Me neither.
But that was fun.
Yeah.
Hopefully you had fun and you got some value out of this and you found something beautiful in your own life, in your own story, to be able to dwell on. So
Maybe you can start tomorrow morning with one of those really great lines, like in your life. He got out of bed, went downstairs, and made himself some eggs.
or maybe you can find a different way to phrase that. It's maybe a
Oh,
little
yeah.
bit more poetic, because
Yeah. I just came up with that. So, yeah.
sometimes it just takes seeing the ordinary everyday things in an extraordinary way to be able to go, you know what, maybe it's not the same. Maybe this day is the day that it's unique and different, and maybe all it takes is me just looking at it differently.
There you go. I couldn't have said it better. That's what I was going to. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all for today. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
The end.